Okay, how about this? Can you guys... Okay, now there is an echo. I'm not sure what's... That is just really bizarre. Okay, let me know if you can hear now. Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. These things happen sometimes. Um, so I was just saying, welcome to today's cooking demo. Okay, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. So it sounds like we are good. We're good to go. So I was just saying that today is gonna be a bit of a shorter call because I need to go at exactly at 11:30 my time. I'm in Mountain time. So what I'm gonna do is whenever if I have no time to answer your questions, hello from Texas, Charlene. Then I will answer them next week. I'm gonna take a little bit longer next week to answer your questions. Today, what I wanted to do, since we haven't done this for a while, is doing a cooking demo. So just showing you something that can be prepared really quickly with foods that are highly nutritious and hormone balancing in a huge way. Something that can be put together in a matter of minutes and tastes really good and is so nourishing for your body. So do post your questions if you have any questions on hormone balancing, on food, nutrition, everything that you maybe heard me talk about before. I'm also going to post below this video, or above this video rather, later, a link to all the Q&As that we have done in the past 3 months or so, because there's a whole page on that now, which is called QA Magdalena. So if you go to my website, hormonesbalance.com, you'll find it there. It's right on the top menu. I have to tell you, I had a bit of a rough morning this morning, and technology is not helping. I woke up with this horrendous headache. I forgot to open the window in my room. I sleep way better when it's cold in the room. Forgot to turn the heater down, and then I didn't open the window, and the door was closed, and so it just became like this little, sauna in there. And so I woke up with a horrendous headache. And it's hard to focus, and especially when I know that I'm gonna be doing this and talking to you guys. I don't want to be like with this just feeling all foggy brain. So this really helped me. I just applied some essential oils, which I use lavender and peppermint on the temples of my head, and I have to tell you, like, just within minutes it started lifting. So I'm feeling way better. So about 80% of the headache is gone. So essential oils are just such a wonderful little addition. Okay, so why don't we start cooking? Oh, somebody from Italy. Hello, Julianne. My friends just got to Venice this morning. It's raining there apparently. So awesome. So tell me, where are you from, and what would you like to hear in today's in those kind of what these kind of Q&As? I'm always looking for new topics to talk about because like I just I wanna do calls that really reflect of what you wanna hear and what you want to hear me to talk about. So let's get started with the cooking. I'm gonna do a little camera shift to the food itself so that you can see the little thing here. Okay. Hello, French expat living in Maryland. Well, it is exotic. I think it definitely is. So I hope you can see my board. What I'm going to show you today is I'm going to make a wrap. And the wrap that I'm going to be making is, instead of using, those gluten-free wraps, I want to use something that's got more nutritional value. My challenge with things like the gluten-free wraps is that it just doesn't have a lot of nutritional value. At the end of the day, it's kind of processed food. So today what I'm using is nori sheets, and these ones are toasted. I find like toasted are just a little bit, has got a nicer flavor to them. The reason why I love using nori sheets is because they are just full of nutrition, just wonderfully nutritious. I'm gonna put them on my plate here. If you're loading it with a lot of stuff, you might want to use 2. So I'm gonna use 2 today, just to make it a little bit stronger. But they're very strong, so you don't have to worry too much about them. There's another. So the brands that I like to use, this one is from Emerald Cove. As you can see here, probably. Let me get that right on the camera, right here. And then the other one that is very widely available all around the United States is Eden. So there's also Sushi Nori, right? So that's what we're using. Now, what's so great about them is that they are full of iodine. And one of the cool things about that is that, did you guys know that in terms of our breast health and brain health, we have the biggest number of receptors for iodine. Somebody's asking, Robin is asking, where do you get these from? Actually, you know, any health store carries them. Every Whole Foods has them. I've seen them in most health stores. You just have to go to the section which either sells the Japanese food or the healthy food, depending on which store you're visiting. But even I've seen them in Safeway before, so they're very widely available food. The reason, so iodine is wonderful because it is, a lot of times women have lumpy breasts, you know, and when they do start incorporating iodine-rich foods such as seaweed, immediately brain fog starts going away, they start feeling much more energized, breast lumps start going away. So part of the, you know, part of the whole thing about managing estrogen dominance as a method is definitely, I recommend adding iodine to your life, very slowly though. The only precaution that I would say with seaweed in general is for somebody who's got thyroid condition, especially very active Hashimoto's. The Hashimoto's with elevated TPO antibodies, then you do not want to be going very high with iodine-rich foods. The good news is, you know, the good news is that when it comes to Nori sheets, they're actually one of the lowest in iodine when it comes to all the seaweed. So I think for people with thyroid problems, like I would still do that once, twice a week safely and don't worry about it. The other thing is that, you know, seaweed is just full of vitamin B's. It's minerally so rich. If you look at it per gram of what it contains versus, for example, things like a gluten-free wrap, it just doesn't even compare. You know what I mean? Like it is so nutritionally much more packed as compared to a gluten-free wrap, which is processed flour, and there isn't a lot of really good stuff left in there. Somebody asked about mercury just now. That's a good question. So this is the reason why I like to buy them from, not from Asian stores, because you don't really know where the source comes from. Eden, when it comes to Eden as well as when it comes to Emerald Cove, are brands that are only that are constantly monitoring the amount of toxicity that is in the product itself. I've met actually the founders of Emerald Cove. It's a really cool company. They are literally Nori fishermen, and yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, you know. But I would not buy, for example, my Nori sheets from a Asian store where I don't know where this is coming from. I wouldn't buy that from China, for example. There's a lot of Nori sheets coming from China. I wouldn't touch that because I don't know where this is coming from. Okay, so let's talk about the next food that I'm gonna put in there as a base, and that is, can you guess what it is? So that you can see it, let me zoom in on the board itself so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so can you tell what this is? This lovely green peppery food, vegetable. So for those of you who want to take a guess, this is arugula. I personally love arugula, and you don't have to use arugula though. If it's too peppery for you, for example, arugula. Part of the reason why I love it is because it's got that spicy, peppery. That's right. Somebody got it right. I can't really see it from here. Lori Smith. Yeah. So the reason why I love arugula is because it is a cruciferous vegetable. And, you know, and it's just wonderful couple of things. One is it helps to detoxify your liver, and specifically working on the pathway on the liver that detoxifies us from estrogen. So whoever is dealing with estrogen dominance issues, so things like horrendous PMSs, you know, you're talking about like water retention around your period, really bad moods, but also lumpy breasts, breast cancer, you know, infertility issues, irregular periods. The foundation of all your foods really are the crucifers. And so a lot of people with thyroid conditions are really scared of these. I talked about this before. There's no reason to be scared of them. So that's arugula, just a lovely, you know, but if you don't particularly like it, you can always switch over to something like mizuna or just, you know, mixed greens, right? I'm not a particularly big fan. I'm not a fan of spinach, because spinach doesn't hormonally do much for us. And yes, it's supposed to be high in iron, but it's actually the iron that is not super bioavailable. So don't kid yourself. Like if you're low on iron, by dosing up on spinach is not really gonna replenish you. You're gonna be better off by eating things like livers and meats to replenish on your iron deficiency. So yeah, so one of the things is that spinach is very high in oxalates, and a lot of people realize that you know, they start doing too much of spinach, and then later that could be the cause of things like oxalate sensitivity, which I'm dealing with right now, or things like kidney stones. And so I think in the long term is never a good thing to do. So let's move on to the next food that I want to show you, and that is, can you guys guess what this is? So I'm gonna open this up now. Can you tell what this is? So let me just get this right. I need to, the camera is kind of off. There we go. Now I'm in focus. All right, so who can guess what this is? These little lovely, tender, crisp, very soft, and very beautiful sprouts. That's right. So they are sprouts, but can you tell, do you know what sprouts I like to work with? If you've been following me for a while, then you would know what sprouts are these ones exactly. So I'm gonna put these sprouts on top here. Who can tell me what kind of sprouts these are? There's various different types of sprouts. Broccoli, that's right, these are broccoli sprouts. So not all sprouts are the same. They are, you know, there are sprouts that you can get that are from clover. That's right. Yes, thank you, Katrine. Katrine is saying broccoli, that's right. So one of the things about broccoli sprouts that makes them so different is that they are full of sulforaphane, which is a substance that is incredibly potent when it comes to shrinking breast cancers, preventing breast cancer, but also for preventing breast cancer, shrinking breast lumps, just incredibly potent. And did you guys know that in terms of sulforaphane, these little sprouts have, I think the number was like 70 times higher nutritional value of sulforaphane as compared to broccoli, like the broccoli itself, right? So, you know, as you can see, I got them in the store, and, you know, and they are already sprouted. I just didn't have a time. I'm finishing up my book, so I didn't really have time to sprout. These ones are from, you know, this is a local brand called Life Forest, right? But I've seen them in most stores, most health stores, and around the refrigeration area. And it's super easy to do it yourself. I teach how to sprout in a Cooking for Balance program. I'm going to post the link to that. If you haven't done the program with us yet, I hope you do, because it really is going to help you, put you in the right direction on helping yourself rebalance your hormones through nutrition. So I also want to share with you, there is a study that was done. Then just 1 cup of broccoli sprouts a day had the same potency as, I forget right now the name, of a medication that helps to manage breast cancer. So it's an estrogen blocker. The problem with that medication, like with a lot of Western medicine, is that it has a lot of other side effects, and including it really messes up the liver, and that's why typically women go on that med for no more than 5 years. So, you know, isn't that just amazing that you can do a cup of this every day, and, you know, and be in a space of going like, I know I can prevent breast cancer from developing, especially tamoxifen. There we go. Thank you. I am not the brightest today, I have to tell you. It was just incredible how just sleeping in a room like this. Yes, tamoxifen, that's right. I have an audience who knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. So those are the greens, right? But greens itself are not gonna satisfy us. So the next thing I wanna show you is I like to use some sources of fat. So in this case here, I'm using avocado. And did you guys know about how to check if avocado is ready or not? And one way to do this is, I mean, of course you can go around the store and just touching it and pressing on it and stuff, right? But everybody does that, so I feel like it's not a nice thing to do. So one thing is, if the little guy here, right, is already taken off, you can just look at this part here. Actually, let me make the camera bigger so I can show you. All right, there we go. So you can see this is nice and brown, and this is what we want, right? Now, this avocado here still has that little guy here, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. So I'm gonna just take it off, and you can see this is very light and green. So it just shows you that's not super ready yet. This avocado probably just needs a couple more days. It's getting softer, but it's not super soft. So it's like a little tip. You know, you always want to look for an avocado that is this light brown color here. However, if you find that it's black, for example, or darker than this, then the stem, right? Okay. If the stem comes off easily, that's too. But I just feel like, you know, that's yeah. I feel like the stem, like just now, came off really easily, the green one, but it's not super ripe yet. So the color you want is that light brown, like I said. That's the good color to go with. So, you know, whether you want to use a whole avocado or you want to use just half avocado is absolutely up to you. So I'm gonna use the bigger half. And slice it up. And then place it right here. This is a big chunk of avocado, so I'm just gonna use a part of it. There we go. Okay. So that's the avocado. So we definitely want some fat in our plate. And so let's see what else. You know, if you're vegetarian, you might want to just add. Let me just add one more thing before I talk about protein, and that is, in this case, I just ran out of my own ferments. So I went to the store yesterday and I got this kraut, and this kraut is made of radishes. That's why you see the color is slightly different. It's not the usual sauerkraut, kind of a greenish, whitish color, but this one is radishes because of the kraut, from the radishes. So in the Cooking for Balance program, I teach also what are the various different ways you can use, what are the vegetables that you can use for fermentation. It doesn't have to be sauerkraut every time. You know, you can be very creative with the different vegetables, and actually using radishes is one of my favorites to use because it's just so tasty. All you have to do is just shred them. It's shredded using salt and some spices, and voila, and that's it. So here we have something fermented, and I'm just gonna put that on top right here. It smells so good. If you're not used to ferment, you'll be like, ugh, that's like old socks. But if you're used to this, then you go like, wow, this is so good. Now, as you can probably guess, the reason why I'm using something fermented is because it is obviously full of probiotics. It's really great for the health of the gut, right? The gut is really holding is one of the foundational body systems that is holding our hormonal balance in place. The estrobolome, I posted on that a couple of days ago. There's more and more research coming out about the estrobolome, which is the subset of bacteria that helps us metabolize estrogen, especially the bad estrogens. So those estrogens that are causing breast cancer, ovarian cancers, lumps, endometriosis, all of those, you know, estrogen-related conditions, right? So yeah, so this is a really lovely way of, but also, you know, what I like to do is, in terms of flavors, I think healthy food has to be really tasty, right? And, you know, to be sustainable, because otherwise you'd be like, I can't be bothered, you know, like I'm gonna be eating well for 3 days, but if it doesn't taste good, you're gonna stop because it's just not sustainable. So what I love about this is that it kind of, can you see the profile of all of this, right? The crunch from the sprouts, the fat from the avocado, right? The acidity coming from salt, and the acidity coming from the kraut, from the radish kraut here, right? So just a really nice combination of things, and the peppery flavor coming from doctors who take my class. Sally is saying, yeah. I actually, once my book is out, I plan to do some workshops around institutions where doctors are, just to show them this. So let's talk about one more thing, and that is protein. You know, I'm a big protein person, so like it's hard for me to get through the day without having at least one piece of some kind of protein. It doesn't have to be animal, can be fish as well. So here I have sardines, right? And a couple of things I want to mention. The first thing is somebody mentioned, you know, about toxicity. Sally is saying I'm a PR person. Okay. I will let you know. So sardines are, one of the cool things about sardines is that they accumulate a lot less toxicity from the sea as compared to bigger fish like even salmon, or the worst one will be things like tuna, right? So, you know, so that's the first thing. The second thing, you want to buy from companies that really source they go fishing in a sustainable way so they don't destroy the environment. And number two is that they constantly are checking for toxicity of the food. And so I love Wild Planet. This is the brand I want to just recommend. And you can find that in a lot of different stores, health stores. All Whole Foods carries them. They are not much more expensive than, you know, a lot of other those brands you don't know much about. And they're using BPA-free packaging on the inside, which is kind of awesome. One recommendation I have for you when it comes to using sardines is that be sure to use them with the bones in them to get the calcium in them. And to be honest with you, the bones are so brittle that when you put them in something like this, you wouldn't even taste them. But you're giving yourself that wonderful source of magnesium. Calcium and magnesium actually, because it's and phosphorus, all the good stuff for our bones. So nothing sophisticated here. I'm just gonna, you know, open this up and get some of these guys in here. So these guys are big. I'm just gonna cut them up in smaller pieces, probably half of that, and then just have that right here. So that's that. Now it's almost ready actually. To be honest with you, like this is a plate that's pretty much is ready to go. You don't need much more than that. As you can see, I'm not adding salt because there's quite a lot of salt in the ferment itself, right? So I feel like that's good enough. But then on the other hand, you know, if you, for example, having a lot of adrenal fatigue and you feel like you're really craving something salty, add a bit of salt to your, so avocado is not enough protein. For most people it's not. You typically do avocado for the fat and not so much for the protein. But if you feel like it's good enough for you, then, you know, it's really about listening to your body. And, you know, does it have to be sardines? No. It can be a piece of chicken from last night. It can be a piece of fish from last night, you know, from dinner. It can be anything, right, that you can put in here. You know, the wild Alaskan pink salmon is something that is pretty good product to use as well. This is also from Wild Planet, the same brand. You know, so there's another one that I have here on hand. And if you want to be a little, you know, you want to have a little bit of punch and zest in your life and add a little bit of something spicy like a sauce. I just bought the sauce yesterday that is made of, it's cilantro based. And I love cilantro because cilantro binds heavy metals. So on one hand, like you're doing, you know, I haven't opened it yet. You're doing the fish, and so you're like, you know, I want something to maybe bind those heavy metals too, just in case there is something. And so this is a great little addition, if it ever comes out. Okay, maybe not. So let me just try this. It doesn't come out, I'm not gonna do it. So, okay, it's stubborn. Never mind. Yeah, so support local makers. You know, there are people who locally make it in more and more stores. Like this one is I live in Boulder right now in Colorado. This is a Boulder company, you know, and one of the cool things about a lot of the health stores you walk around is somebody's asking, Catherine is asking, can she do nuts and seeds for protein instead of fish of meat? I would say definitely yes. I mean, you could do, you know, like almond butter if you can tolerate almonds, or any kind of butter, nut butter. The challenge I find with nuts and seeds is that the more you consume them, the more people become sensitive to them, right? So people give up, you know, things like dairy, and then so they start substituting everything from nuts, you know, like almonds for as a snack, almond milk, almond cheese, almond, everything almond, right? And then 3 months later, they develop a sensitivity to almonds. So I'll say a couple of things about if you are really not doing animal protein, then if you switch getting your protein from nuts, then a couple of things is, one is always soaking them and soaking them overnight, rotating them. So you don't do almonds night in, night out, right? But day in, day out, but you switch them with macadamia and with pecans and walnuts and, you know, pumpkin seeds. There's pumpkin seed butter, for example, you can make. I teach that in the Cooking for Balance program. So yeah, so let's eat. I think maybe next time if I'm making something like this, here's an idea just on the fly. What do you guys think? Next time I could give you the list of ingredients to purchase prior to this telecast, and then we make food together, because you can see, like, I didn't have anything pre-prepared, right? It's all just came together from foods that can pretty much sit in the fridge. I mean, honestly, most of those things can be in your kitchen for weeks. The only thing you're gonna have fresh is definitely the arugula, right? So that's the fresh thing. The sprouts can be in the fridge for, from my experience, like for a week or so, not a problem. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And what I will then do is, you know, this one is kind of big because I'm greedy with food. What are you guys saying? Great idea about, cool, so I will think about doing that. So as you can see, all I'm gonna do now is just roll it up. And sometimes you might need to kind of like a burrito, right? You kind of want to grab it in and just roll it. And that's it. I'm just going to tie this together here right now so it doesn't fall apart. And this is your lunch. How about that, right? The other thing I just want to tell you about nori sheets is that nori sheets can tend to get soggy pretty quickly. So you can't really take this as a take away thing. You're going to make it and eat it pretty quickly. Unless you are ready to kind of have like a really soggy burrito after this, which might not be the best idea. If you don't mind, I haven't had breakfast yet, so I'm just gonna have a quick bite. Yum. Really good. So who here is gonna make it? Who do you think? Do you guys think you're gonna be? Is this easy enough for you to actually go and make it? I'm curious. I'll be honest with you. This is what I eat a lot of times when I'm like really busy and I've got to run around and do stuff, and I've just been finishing up my book, you know, and yeah. So great. So there's more of you saying that I'm gonna be making this. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear this. So if you like this video, please do tag women who you think are going to benefit from these Friday calls. I would love to. Yay! Cheryl is saying she's definitely going to be making this as well. And there's a lot of other comments are coming in that you're going to be making this. Hooray! So this is my objective for the week, is to teach you something new and get you to try something really healthy and really good for yourself and other people. And you know, quite frankly, I mean, you can experiment and change things around as much as you want, right? You know, it doesn't have to be nori sheets. You can use cabbage leaves. You can use those Vietnamese, you know, those Vietnamese rice sheets. You can use those. Just soak them first, and then use them. You know, if you want the carbohydrates because you just feel like that's what you need, then get the gluten-free, you know, burritos or corn tortillas or whatever to wrap things in. And they're gonna be much more substantial than this in terms of carbs, right? I will be live in LA. I never said that I was gonna be live in LA. I don't really particularly aspire to be in LA. No, I live in Colorado right now. That's where I'm finishing my book, and I will let you know in a couple of months where it's gonna be the next move for me. So this is where I am right now. Hey you guys, I'm sorry I'm not gonna be answering your questions today. I've gotta run, but stay tuned for next Friday, and I'm gonna be answering your questions then. Whatever you post in this week, I'm gonna answer it next week, or just show up next week, and I'm gonna take your questions about hormones. Let me know how this kind of lunch works out for you if you try it. And somebody's saying, I thought you lived in Iceland. I did. And then my partner and I went our separate ways. Brett and I went separate ways, and I came back to the US to finish the cookbook because it's much easier that way. And I will tell you more about this, about where I am with my relationship and what changed it, what caused it. I'm gonna be talking about that once I finish the book in April, towards the end of April. It's actually kind of interesting. It's got a lot to do, hint, it's got a lot to do with mood swings. It's got a lot to do with amino acids, a certain imbalance in the brain, and how I fixed it and how much better I'm feeling. And then I'll give you an update on my relationship with Brett. How about that? Okay, cool. So I know this is probably too much personal stuff, but I know some people are curious, and I really don't mind sharing. All right, everyone, have a lovely, lovely weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Bye for now.